What if the tools you use to stay informed are quietly rewiring your brain to be impulsive, anxious, and unable to think deeply? In this video, Brain Wash and the Shallows go head to head to explain why you can't focus and what you can do about it. You'll see where their ideas clash, where they overlap, and which tactics actually fit your life so you can finally rebuild your attention and emotional stability. Why do you feel more wired, more scattered, and less human every year, even though you have more information and more convenience than at any point in history? Disconnection syndrome brain wash starts by zooming out on your entire day. The rushed mornings, the scroll on your phone before you even get out of bed, the processed breakfast on the go, the multitasking at work, the drink at night, and the restless sleep that doesn't leave you feeling restored. Perlmutter argues that this isn't just modern life. It's a pattern that physically changes your brain, cutting you off from the part that makes thoughtful long-term decisions and strengthening the circuits that make you impulsive, anxious, and desperate for quick fixes. He calls this disconnection syndrome, a state where you are disconnected from deep happiness, from other people, and even from your own long-term interests, while your primitive brain is being hijacked by constant cues to buy, click, and consume. He points out that your attention and decisions are literally being sold to the highest bidder, companies that understand how to tap into the most primitive pathways in your brain to keep you craving short-term pleasure. In this worldview, the reason you can't focus isn't just that you are weak or lazy. It's that your environment, from your diet to your feeds, has been engineered to push you into distraction, fear, and constant urge chasing. The Shallows agrees that something is happening to your brain, but it narrows the spotlight sharply onto the internet itself. Carr describes his own experience. He used to sink into books for hours, but now his concentration frays after a page or two, and he feels like he's dragging his mind back to the text. He notices the same pattern in friends and bloggers. Deep reading is being replaced by restless scanning, link hopping, and a constant search for the next hit of information. He explains that the internet is not just a neutral pipe delivering data. Every medium shapes how you think. The web trains your brain to expect information in a fast, fragmented stream, so your default state becomes jet ski across the surface rather than scuba dive into depth. Companies like Google make this possible and profitable. They index the web, rank pages through links, and then monetize your attention using auction-based ads that reward whatever gets you to click more. The more you click, the more your mind learns to seek quick hits, and the more the system reshapes itself to feed that tendency. So here's the first clash. If you follow the brainwash lens, your problem is broad. You live in a culture that disconnects you from nature, sleep, real food, and authentic relationships, while feeding your primitive brain with constant stimulation and consumer cues. If you follow the Shallows, your problem is more specific. The internet, and especially search-driven, ad-driven design, is degrading your capacity for deep reading and contemplation by training you to skim and click. In other words, one says your whole life is wired for disconnection, while the other says your digital medium is rewiring your thinking. Both speak directly to your sense that you are more scattered and less capable of deep thought than you used to be, but they disagree on how wide the battlefield really is. Imagine one ordinary workday where your brain either continues to fray or quietly starts to repair. Which playbook you follow changes everything. Picture this: you wake up, reach for your phone before you even sit up, and scroll through notifications, emails, and social feeds. You rush through a processed breakfast, skim headlines, and answer messages on the way to work. At your desk, you bounce between tabs and apps every few minutes, glancing at your phone whenever it lights up, half reading everything and remembering almost nothing. By lunch, you eat at your desk, still staring at a screen. At night, you're too drained to do anything but watch more content, scroll more feeds, and fall asleep later than you should, with restless sleep in between. The result, you feel anxious and scattered. Your ability to focus deeply is weaker, and you feel oddly empty. Even though you've been connected all day, this is the wrong way. No framework, no boundaries. Your brain pulled in every direction at once. Now take that same day, but you adopt the philosophy of the Shallows. Your main goal is to protect deep reading and deep focus from the constant pull of the web. You still wake up with your phone nearby, but you don't open the browser or social feed first. Instead, you block off a focused reading block with a physical book or an offline document before you go online. You treat your attention like a resource. When you work, you turn off notifications, close most tabs, and refuse to switch tasks every few minutes. You deliberately reduce your time bouncing from link to link because you understand that every rapid shift trains your brain to prefer shallow skimming. When you do need to search online, you go in with a specific purpose and then get out, rather than letting search results and recommended links drag you into an endless click chain. You start to rebuild your capacity for deep reading by practicing it daily, the way you train a muscle. Result being your day still involves screens, but your mental state feels more stable. You can stay with one piece of writing longer, and you end the day aware that you've actually thought deeply about something instead of just surfing the surface. This approach is surgical. It targets how you use the internet, especially reading and searching. Now rewind the same day and overlay the brain wash methodology instead. Your goal here is to break disconnection syndrome by changing the border environment that has been rewiring your brain. You still have technology, but you start by redesigning your morning. You delay checking your phone, choose a real unprocessed breakfast, and make space for a calm moment with a loved one, or even a simple quiet pause before work. You recognize that constant multitasking and screen time are weakening the part of your brain that sees the big picture and making your impulses stronger. So you deliberately create blocks of time with fewer devices and fewer simultaneous tasks. You add something else that the shallows barely touches: direct reconnection with nature. On your break or after work, you step outside, walk in a park or a patch of trees, and let your senses adjust to something that isn't glowing or buzzing. Perlmutter describes nature as a place of origin for your genes, a setting that lowers your stress hormones, reduces inflammation, and boosts your ability to feel empathy and balance. When you are in the woods or a natural environment, you feel less like a component in a machine and more like a person again. Result being, your day isn't just less noisy, it is more humane. You feel slightly more grounded, sleep starts to improve, and you notice that your cravings for sugar, for constant stimulation, for mindless clicking, lose a bit of their grip. This approach is holistic. It attacks the lifestyle structure that keeps your brain in a reactive, impulsive mode. If your pain point is purely cognitive, thinking I can't read a chapter without reaching for my phone, then the laser focus of the shallows on rebuilding deep reading and limiting hyperlinked fragmented input may give you faster results. But if your struggle includes emotional burnout, loneliness, poor sleep, and feeling like a cog in a machine, the broader reset that Brain Wash offers, especially its emphasis on nature, real-world connection, and lifestyle design, targets more of the actual causes. The underlying opinion here is rational. For most people today, the shallows gives you precise rules for your digital diet, while Brain Wash gives you a framework for your entire life context. The more complex your pain point is, the more you probably need the bigger framework. If your brain is being trained every day, who do you want in charge of that training? Tech companies optimizing for clicks, or you deliberately shaping your own mind? Brain Wash spends meaningful time on something that might sound old-fashioned but becomes powerful in the current year: going outside. It contrasts a life spent indoors, surrounded by sterile, climate-controlled environments and devices, with experiences in forests and natural spaces. Nature is presented not as a luxury hobby, but as a basic requirement for a healthy brain. It lowers stress hormones, reduces inflammation, and supports empathic, thoughtful behavior. In one example, a doctor who is burned out from 80-hour weeks in the hospital starts driving into the temperate rainforests of the Pacific Northwest on his days off. The woods are dark, wet, and quiet, but the effect is deeply restorative. He reconnects with gratitude, with his sense of purpose, and with the feeling of being part of something larger than the hospital's fluorescent corridors. The message is clear. When you step into nature, you step out of the machine that keeps you overstimulated and undernourished mentally. Instead of staying inside on a free afternoon, scrolling and letting your brain churn over work stress, carving out even an hour to sit under trees without notifications allows your senses to open up to something not designed by a company. You return with mental space, a calmer nervous system, and a counter habit to reaching for an app when you feel afraid. But while nature offers an organic escape, the shallows gives you a different kind of antidote, understanding the highly engineered design of the tools you use every day. It traces how Google emerged by indexing links between web pages, then turned that index into a ranking system that made search incredibly efficient. At first, Google avoided ads because it feared they would bias results, but eventually it developed an ad system where placement is auctioned off and tied to click-through rates. This means that your attention is not just valuable, it is priced. The more an ad gets you to click, the more it appears and the more money the platform makes. In practice, your mental habits are being co-shaped by algorithms that reward whatever keeps you moving and clicking. The net effect is that your brain adapts to an environment where constant stimulation wins and slow, quiet focus loses. If you treat your browser as a playground, following every tempting link without boundaries, your brain learns distraction is rewarded. To fight this, you have to accept that the web favors skimming and actively build walls, treating every click like spending attention from a limited budget, so your neural circuits can relearn how to stay with one thing at a time. Here's where the two books really diverge in style. Brain Wash leans on timeless tools, nature, real food, sleep, presence, to break disconnection, adapting them to a world of smartphones and consumerism. The Shallows leans on modern media theory and cognitive science to help you see the hidden structure of your digital environment, so you can resist it. If you feel emotionally numb, lonely, and physically off, Brain Wash offers more immediate leverage by getting you back into the physical world. If you feel intellectually impatient, unable to read and think deeply, The Shallows gives you a clear explanation of why and how to train yourself back toward depth. Used together, one pulls you out into the world, and the other teaches you how not to drown when you step back online. If you had to pick only one strategy to fight your cognitive decline this year, would you prioritize changing your environment or changing how you read and click? Brain Wash is particularly strong in a world where people are not only distracted, but also overworked, isolated, and inflamed, mentally and physically. It describes how your entire routine has shifted in the last 15 years. More screens, more processed food, less movement, less real conversation, and more constant stimulation. Its core claim is that this has not just made you tired, it has literally altered the balance between higher order brain areas and primitive impulsive circuits. In that context, the book's emphasis on reconnecting with nature, with real human interaction, and with slower offline experiences feels highly practical. If your primary pain is that you are anxious, reactive, and unable to feel genuine connection, this methodology tackles the whole ecosystem driving that state. The Shallows is laser-focused on something that has only intensified: your dependence on the internet as your all-purpose medium for almost everything: banking, work, news, entertainment, and social life. It captures the feeling that you used to be able to read for hours and now can barely make it through a few pages without wanting to check something. It explains why, when you take in information as a rapid hyperlink stream, your brain adapts to that format and expects it everywhere. In modern times, where almost all knowledge work and communication are mediated by screens and platforms, understanding this mechanism is extremely practical. If your main pain is that you can't think deeply anymore, your mind constantly itches for the next stimulus, this book gives you a precise diagnosis and a clear argument for rebuilding deep reading as a deliberate practice. If the goal is to solve your pain point of cognitive decline and impulsivity, the most rational conclusion is not to crown a single winner, but to choose a hybrid that still has a lead. In terms of practical leverage in everyday life, Brain Wash likely has the edge because it addresses multiple drivers at once: your environment, your habits, your diet, your movement, your sleep, and your connection to nature and others. It gives you more knobs to turn. However, ignoring the shallows would be a mistake because much of your life now runs through interfaces that are optimized for distraction. You need its insight to design your digital boundaries intelligently. The strongest stance is this: use Brain Wash as your main operating system, rebuild lifestyle and reconnection, while using the shallows as a security system that protects your deep reading and thinking from being eroded by the very tools you rely on. Here's the final question: what will you do with the next 24 hours of your attention? If you follow only the old habits, you'll keep waking up to your phone, spending your day in a blur of screens and shallow inputs, and going to bed with a tired but restless mind, feeling more disconnected from yourself and others. If you follow only the shallows, you'll start building pockets of deep offline focus and limit the way the web fragments your thoughts. But you may still feel emotionally and physically worn down if you don't change the rest of your life. If you follow only Brain Wash, you'll step outside more, eat and sleep better, and reconnect with people and nature. But the digital systems you use daily may still chip away at your capacity for deep reading unless you deliberately rebuild it. The most effective combination for this specific pain point, cognitive decline, impulsivity, and loss of real connection, is to let Brain Wash reshape your lifestyle and environment while the shallows reshapes how you read, search, and click. In practice, that means you redesign your mornings and evenings to reduce automatic screen use and add real food, sleep, and small doses of nature. Protect blocks of deep offline reading and thinking every day, treating them as training for your brain. Set clear rules for how and when you go online, so your browser becomes a tool, not your default mental environment. Do that for even a few weeks and you won't just feel less distracted, you'll start to feel like your own brain again. Then the fight to save your attention is no longer between these two books. It's between the old fragmented you and the more focused, more connected you that you are actively building.